Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's very hard to follow Dr. Hellman, let me say that. But it's a pleasure to be here. How many of you know Akamai? A lot of you know Akamai. How many of you know the beginnings of Akamai, when Akamai was started? The story here is very interesting for us. And, Akamai is everywhere. But let me tell you about how we got started. I've been in the company for about 20 years, so I'm familiar with the background. So about 30 years back, the founder of the World Wide Web, Dr. Tim Berners-Lee, was very concerned with the speed of the internet. People were not able to access sites, forget streaming. So he issued a challenge to the professors and students at MIT. And the challenge was, how do you make the internet faster and more consumable? And the group that listened to his challenge was a professor and a student. The professor, Dr. Tom Layton, who was a professor of mathematics, and his student was by the name Danny Lewin, who was an Israeli-American. And Danny, for his PhD thesis, invented a set of algorithms that basically became the foundation for what Akamai is. And the whole idea was that you would take the content on the internet and you would cache it. And you would cache it in hundreds of locations so that it was going to be faster for people to access the internet. Simple concept, very hard to execute, but that was Danny's thesis. And unfortunately, Danny Lewin was on a plane on September 11th, 2001. So he was on a plane on his way from Boston to Los Angeles, and he passed away. He did not see the work that he had created. But to his credit, and to the credit of Dr. Tom and everybody else in Akamai, today Akamai is everywhere. We are located in over 700 cities, in over 130 countries. And our vision is still the same. The vision is still to be able to deliver content from wherever you are on the internet, whether you're accessing it from some part of Africa, some part of Asia. The goal is still the same. Now, a few years later, what had happened to us was, we had the White House secretary come in, and he was interested in protecting the White House. We did not have a security product, but we had a platform. And so we started protecting the White House, and that became the beginning of our security journey. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. So I'm going to show data. I'm going to talk about some of the attacks that we've seen, and then we'll go into a little bit into, what the trend is. I'm not going to talk too much about AI, but I'll show you a little bit about, what our customers are asking us about AI. But let's start off with some data here. So the first thing here is what we call as our spinning globe. And let's see if it is moving. Oh. Okay, we seem to have some trouble in moving this, but I'm going to walk you through the data. So the quick thing that you can see here is what we have on this screen is our bot management dashboard. In the bot management dashboard, you can see, we highlight a few things. The first thing that you can see is about 60% of the traffic that you see on a good day is a bot. So in our network, now we see close to 60%, some days it's 70% of the traffic that we see is actually bots, right, compared to humans. Now, in that 60%, if you see 75% of these are bad bots. What is a bad bot? A bad bot is something that is essentially intending to bring your site down. It is there to steal credentials. So 75% of what we saw in the last 24 hours were bad bots, right? Out of the total 60% bot traffic that we see. And I don't think there's any surprises as to the origins of these bots. The US typically is the largest producer of these bots given the infrastructure that exists. I'm surprised to see Philippines on the list, but maybe there was something going on there as an attack vector that created that. Also, I think one of the things that we'll see quite a bit for our customers is the prevalence of AI bots. So the first one you can see there is ByteSpider, which is typically the ByteDance TikTok bot. 39%. So it was basically going around trying to get data, trying to train its models. Second thing that you can see, no surprise, is ChatGPT, followed by Meta, followed by OpenAI search bot, and then the GPT bot. So what is interesting is the different kinds of GPT bots that exist. Some of them are used for training, some of them are used for inferencing, some of them are used for search when a user actually makes a search request. So there's different kinds of bots that are there. So I think just to show you the data from this one slide, you can see how much of this is just coming from just pure bots. Now, we talked about AI, so I'm not going to go too deep into AI, but one of the things that there's no debate here is there's a lot of money being spent on AI, right? A lot of customers of us are talking to us about how they're using AI to improve the customer experience, to make it faster for them, become more efficient, and just strengthen the customer relationships. I was talking to one customer, and I said, "What are you using AI for?" And they basically they make dresses for women. So one of the use cases they talked about was how when you were looking at a product, you could basically put a photo of yours in, and they would generate an AI video of you in that dress walking down. So that's a cool example of how we are seeing customers use AI. But the problem that has, I think, prevented everybody from using AI, or a lot of people from using AI at least, are security concerns, right? Security, you don't know where your data is going to be used. Compliance, if you're in a regulated industry of any kind, the compliance matters quite a bit. And then there is just the fear that AI could be used against you, and you have reputational problems doing that. So when it comes to attacks, it's slightly different here, but we see just a general increase in AI-based attacks. And it's hard for us to quantify exactly how much comes from AI, but as a whole, if you just look at our numbers, overall our numbers are going up. Just if you look at layer 7 DDoS, how many of you know what layer 7 DDoS is? A good bunch of hands there. So just layer 7 DDoS, 94% increase in layer 7 DDoS globally. And if you just look at that DDoS globally versus Israel versus just in our Europe, Middle East, and Africa regions, across the board, they've gone up. And they've targeted APIs. Now, why APIs? So one of the things that obviously with APIs, what you're doing is you're exposing your business logic. You're taking it out there. You're writing it so that people can call it and do things with it. And every call to an API essentially spins off maybe calls to CPUs, to databases, to load balancers. So it's very easy for an attacker to go out, shoot out a request against a bunch of APIs, and then bring them down. So we've seen that quite a bit. And then also DDoS. Traditional DDoS, layer 3, layer 4 DDoS, not dead yet. Right? We actually, you can see one of the stats here, 419 terabytes of traffic that just came in the first few minutes in a DDoS attack. But if you look at the size of the attack, that was close to 800 gigabits per second. Right? 800 gigabits per second is big enough for you to actually bring down many data centers. So that was what we saw as well. So you're just seeing that overall the attack trends are dramatically increasing. AI is a part of this. It's much easier for an attacker to use AI to now generate attack patterns against sites. We've also seen AI being used to create new malware and ransomware variants. Right? When we started talking to customers about malware and ransomware, one of the things that customers have told us is just the lack of visibility they have into the network. And I'm talking about some of these because Akamai has built some of these products, but a lot of them also came from many companies that we acquired here in Israel. But the number one thing that I'd say from customer standpoint has been the importance of actually getting visibility into their networks. About half of them said, we actually want to know what's going on. And then the second thing that people have said is once we know there's malware, how quickly can we stop it? Right? If you just look at every day that you have malware in your network, in the US at least, or you have a violation, you're supposed to report that to the SEC within an incredibly short amount of time. So how quickly you can contain the malware. And then the last one is now a lot of the compliance organizations are now coming in and regulating that you have better protections in place to protect against malware. So I'll say that from where we stand, I think there's a lot of data that we see on our network. As I said in the first slide, we've got deployment in over 130 countries, 700 cities. We use that information from that network to get a lot of these statistics, and we put all of that and help and use that to protect your deployments with whether it's related to protecting your APIs or protecting your assets and infrastructure. And we usually are pretty good with publishing our research. So my only last slide, my takeaway to you is we publish all of this and more in what we call as our State of the Internet report. And in this report, you have these QR codes here that you can use to download them. We use this data to identify what the latest attack trends are, what the latest ransomware variants are, where are you seeing these attacks come from, and also what you can do to protect yourself. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me. Have a great time at Cyber Week, and hopefully all the best. Thank you.